Hi guys, welcome to this mini series for breaking down a vinyasa flow. So we talk a little bit in class about doing a little vinyasa, and I just want to talk you through these postures. So it's a kind of selection of postures all joined together in a little flow, a little sequence. And quite often it's thrown into practice to give you some warming of the body, of the joints, of muscles, and sort of kind of getting you ready for some other postures. Now, for me personally, I tend to not throw too many of them into practice because I have noticed that over the years, as I've practiced, I can see people getting tired and exhausting, and then their posture and their form becomes quite sloppy as they practice these. So I want to give you a little sequence of talking you through these basically, and basically explain to you how you can practice these safely and also in a way that serves your body well. And what I mean by that is not just that it is safe, but actually gives you the benefits of these poses as well. What's going to help you to build better muscle strength, better body shape when it comes to these poses, and also not put you at risk of injury. So I hope you enjoy this mini series, and let's get started. Okay, so as we begin, you don't need to worry about having anything with you. We don't need any equipment, any cushions, anything at all. We're just literally going to break it all down. So when you start your flow, you would start at the top of your mat and we would begin in mountain pose or Tadasana. Now, mountain pose in Tadasana seems like you're just standing there, but actually when you're doing Tadasana in the strongest, most correct way, then actually you are using the muscles of the whole body, and it's quite an intense and powerful pose. It just doesn't look like it. It looks like someone just standing there. So I want you to try this for me for a moment. Feet are about hip width distance apart. I want you to press the toes and the feet down into the ground. As you do that, you'll probably find that the knees want to lock out. So they tend to kind of lock back and you hang out in the joints. I want you to instead have a little micro bend through the knees. So you're allowing the tension and the hold to come through the muscles, through the legs. Then I want you to come up to the belly. And the belly could be at the moment a little relaxed, or you could be flaring the ribs or tensing. So instead, I want you to draw the navel into the spine, the ribs down and in towards the body. And then I want you to come out to the shoulders, stand up nice and tall, check that the ribs are still not flaring. And shoulders are kind of tall, very slightly drawn back. And instead of kind of drawing them back or forwards, we tend to spend a lot of our time in this position, texting, watching Netflix, typing on a computer. Instead, by drawing the shoulders slightly back, we're just really trying to get that alignment where the shoulder, the hip, and the knee and the ankle all align. And the last point is that the ear comes through that line. So if you were to drop what they call a plumb line, which is almost like a piece of string with a weight on the bottom, they would come through all of those points. So that might mean that you need to draw the head in slightly. If you're drawing it straight back, you'll probably end up with a little bit of a double chin, but then the shoulder comes through, the ear comes through the shoulder point. So a lot going on already. And then the hands are going to come out to the sides, and they're just, the palms are sort of just slightly facing forwards. So you can see it's a really tall, strong posture. It's not just standing there at the top of the mat. It's standing there at the top of the mat with conviction, with strength, and with a strong posture and a strong mindset. So from here, we would go from our Tadasana and we'd start to move into our forward fold. So when we're talking about a forward fold, again, there's some things to consider. It isn't just a case of just coming forwards into that forward fold like a sort of rag doll. It's about coming into that with strength. So from here, I want you to take your hands and place them onto your hips. Now, thumbs can come to the back of the hips, but the fingers, I want you to bring them to the front into kind of the hip crease. And what I mean by that is if you were to lift your leg up, that you'd get a little bit of a crease and the fingers would start to get trapped between your thigh and your sort of belly and hip area. So place the fingers there, and that's so you can really feel when we fold forwards that you're folding from the hip crease and not from kind of the back curving out. So bring the hands there into that hip crease, and then from here start in that nice tall position with the knees just slightly bent. And then you're going to fold forwards, but keep the neck in alignment with the spine, so the head's still tucked in. Nice, straight, tall spine, folding from the hips. And as you do so, the fingers will begin to become trapped. You'll see I'm taking more of a bend through the knees as I lower down. I'm going to release my fingers before they become completely trapped. And then allow the head to come down, crown of head to the ground. Sometimes from here we take a little breath in and we do what's known as flat back or halfway lift. Now again, to come into this pose, you want to reach that point of a flat back. So that is coming back to that point of nice strong alignment through the spine, ribs drawn in, belly drawn in. Arms can be resting on the legs, on the thighs, or they could be just kind of dusting the ground a little bit. But the neck is drawn in, the chin is drawn in. You've got that nice strong alignment. So lower back down to your Uttanasana, your forward fold. And then from here, we come back into plank. So soft bend through the knees. You're going to step, walk or jump the feet back. So let's do a step back. First of all, come into your plank. Now, when you're doing, come onto your knees for a moment, when you're doing your jump, walk or step back, just have a think about how your body is feeling and make sure that you are doing the posture that feels right for your body. You're not doing something that is going to be, something that you're not ready for. You want to be listening in. So if I show you a jump back, I can't promise you it'd be especially quiet, but that's what we're aiming for. When you do a jump back, you press the ground away with the hands, you take a bit more of a bend through the legs, and you're going to spring yourself back. So, fairly noisy. So come back into your plank pose and let's talk about plank. So with plank, we're pressing the ground away with our feet and our hands. The hips are not lifted or lowered. They're in the middle. So to achieve that, draw the belly in, squeeze the glutes, and you want to make sure you're pressing the ground away. From here, we're going to go through our chaturanga. So for me, I talk a lot about an adaptive version on the knees. So let's do that together. So drop onto the knees, untuck the toes, and then from here, we're going to send the weight forwards first, and that's really important for getting the right alignment. Also making sure that the elbow crease is facing forward. So that usually means fanning the fingers out to the sides a little bit so that your index fingers come forwards. So come back into almost that little plank pose but on the knees. And then from here, we're going to send the weight forwards but keep the elbows tucked into the sides. So you're coming forwards. You're not lowering all the way down, you're coming to about a 90-degree bend on the elbows and then drawing back up into your upward facing dog. So drop onto the knees, have a little breather, have a little rest. Because as we talk through it, no doubt you're finding, like me, that you're a little out of breath. Because this is what I mean. As you practice these and you're doing it well and you're engaging your muscles, actually it can be a lot more challenging because you're using more muscle strength, more power through the body. So it's better for your muscle tone, it's better for your body, and it's also safer because we tend to otherwise put our joints at risk. So let's come back into our upward facing dog. Now, I see a lot of this with people with knees on the ground in upward facing dog. Now, that's not an upward facing dog. If it feels too much to lift the knees, then I'm going to recommend instead a Cobra. Now, it's not less intense, but it's better for the lower back. So, in that instance, as you come down, you just press up, squeeze the elbows in, and you're just peeling the chest up off the ground. Neck in alignment with the spine, so just slightly lifted, the head, and then lower. If you are doing your upward facing dog, then you're coming into this pose where your feet, backs of the feet on the ground, your hands are on the ground, and your head is just facing forward. Belly's drawn in, and you're engaging the glutes, bottom muscles. And that's the same, take a little rest. That's the same as if you would be in Cobra. So with Cobra, you're pressing through the hands, you're tucking the elbows in, so squeezing through the shoulders almost a little bit, but you're engaging those glute muscles, those bottom muscles. Really, really important for protecting your lower back, making sure that the pressure's not going into the back, and that instead you've got this nice sort of tight muscles kind of working, not tight, but engaged muscles through the body. So kind of almost from head to toe, you've got engagement of muscles. So let's come back into our upward facing dog. And from our upward facing dog, we come back into our downward facing dog. So most of the time you're going to see me dropping onto the knees, so join me with this. You send the hips back. I then talk about tucking the toes under. And then from here, making sure the fingers are nice and spread out, you're going to press through the fingers, the hands and the toes. And just begin by lifting the knees up, drawing the belly in, and then sending the hips high and coming into your downward facing dog. Feel free to stay in your downward facing dog or come onto your knees, have a little breather. I'm going to talk about one other way to do that. If that feels absolutely fine and you're kind of fairly used to your yoga practice, then you might want to give it a go coming straight from your upward facing dog into your downward facing dog. And you can do that in two ways, by either rolling over the toes or flipping the toes over and then coming up. So I'm going to show you a way of flipping the toes over. So your upward facing dog, you then tuck the toes under one by one, lift, squeeze, and then come back into your downward facing dog. So as I go through that transition, I draw the belly in to the spine as I lift up and then lower my heels. So join me in your downward facing dog. Let's talk about downward facing dog. So let's start with the head, your arms and your ears. If you were to shake your head from side to side, just check, are your ears touching your upper arms? If not, you want to shift that so that you're getting that positioning. Your feet are hip width distance apart, and you can have a little bend through the knees so you're not locking out through the knee joints, and your heels are coming down towards the ground but not necessarily touching. Most people, they won't. Your belly, you're drawing it in, and you're also drawing the ribs down. And you can also just pedal through the feet if you want to have a little bit of a distraction here. Fingers are nice and spread. Equal weight distribution going through the feet and the hands. And then let's come forward. So look towards the hands. And we can either jump, walk or step the feet forwards towards the hands. So step. If you're doing a little jump, press the ground away and really work on that nice quiet jump. So again, we're going to unfold from the hips. So if you want to, you can bring the hands into that hip crease again. Or hopefully you know kind of how that feels now, how that strength through the spine feels. So take a breath in. You could come into a little bit of flat back, just to test out that nice, strong, straight spine. Lower back down on exhale. And then on the next inhale, lift the head and start to extend the arms out to the side and unfold, drawing the belly in, nice straight back, neck in alignment with the spine. Arms reach all the way up, shoulders come up, allow them to come up, it's natural. Breathe out, lower the hands all the way to the chest. Amazing, well done. So I really hope that you enjoyed this mini series, a little bit different, focusing on our Vinyasa. Now with things like Chaturanga, I've done a separate video so you can come through all the pointers with Chaturanga and really dissect it, because it's a little bit more of a challenging pose, which I think requires a little bit more time. And also I'll incorporate some props in that video to just show you how you can really check in and start working towards a sort of full lifted Chaturanga. Like I said before, I don't tend to do too many vinyasas within a practice because I don't think it serves myself or you in any way, shape or form, and I think it makes you vulnerable to become sloppy with those postures and have injuries. I think you will agree with me right now, you're probably feeling like you've used a lot of muscles and that you're probably feeling a little tired, and that just shows you how much just breaking it down once is intense. So if you were to do too many of those in that strength, in the way that they should be executed, it'll be really exhausting. And you can, as you can imagine, like with any exercise, if you do it so many times over and over again, that you become tired and that your posture becomes sloppy and that you are at higher risk of becoming injured. So I hope you enjoyed this one. Feel free to go back through it all and do it again. Try it again and again. I'd love you to keep practicing your vinyasa flows and just seeing that you're getting that posture all the way through, that alignment correct, so that you're protecting your body. So important. And you know, your practice should be fun, it should be beneficial for your body, but it should also be safe and it should be protective of your body, because that's also what yoga is about. It's about listening to your body and about sort of getting to know your body a little bit through exploration. So I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you very much for joining me for this mini series video, and have a wonderful rest of your day. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Take care guys, bye.